The world may never fully understand you, but that doesn't matter. What matters is, have you truly understood yourself? Because when a person does not yet understand themselves, they are easily swept away by the gaze and judgment of others. But once they touch the depths of self awareness, praise and criticism become nothing more than passing winds. That is the real strength, the strength that turns silence into light and darkness into a place of rebirth. The awakened no longer chase after glittering trophies or fleeting applause. They realize that achievements may win admiration from others, but they rarely bring lasting peace. True value is not found in what is displayed outwardly, but in the ability to live fully in each moment, unshackled from comparison or expectation. A quiet morning with a cup of tea, a heartfelt conversation that needs no performance, or simply a breath deep enough to feel truly alive. These are the greatest victories. Such a person radiates an energy that makes others feel lighter in their presence, because they are no longer competitors in the game of rivalry, but mirrors reflecting serenity. Jung once said that only when we stop seeking our identity in the eyes of others do we truly touch our soul. And it is in that moment that joy ceases to depend on the outside world, becoming instead a natural stream flowing from within, a stream that never runs dry. When someone withdraws from the whirlwind of social demands, many assume they are weak, disillusioned, or even giving up. But in reality, the opposite is true. Their withdrawal is an act of healing. They no longer let their energy drain away in pointless arguments, exhausting comparisons, or the pressures of imposed standards. Instead of blending into the noise, they return to silence, a place where the soul can breathe and be renewed. Jung pointed out that when a person reaches their limits, the inner darkness rises, not to destroy, but to remind them it is time for change. Those who disappear are the ones who have heard that call. They stop chasing external validation and begin listening to the voice within. This is not escape, but the courage to face themselves. In today's world, many people feel like a battery drained, always expected to show up, to be perfect, to stay strong. But no one can sustain that forever. Those who are brave enough to step back, to say enough, to choose silence over struggle, are in fact the ones regenerating their strength. Like a field resting after harvest, they are preparing for richer seasons to come. What is fascinating is that in choosing quiet, clarity emerges. In the stillness, they discover what they truly need, which relationships nourish them, which responsibilities actually matter. And once this clarity arises, they return with a different spirit, no longer pulled by outside forces, but grounded, deep, and inwardly strong. This is why disappearance is not defeat, but preparation for rebirth. Others may see them less often, but when they do appear, they bring a different energy, calmer, wiser, and radiating strength that uplifts those around them. Their silence does not weaken their voice. It multiplies its weight when finally spoken. The paradox lies here. When someone no longer tries to prove anything, that is when they become most compelling. Their silence is not cold absence, but a steady presence that makes others feel safe in their company. In a world where nearly everyone wants to be heard, one who listens with their whole heart becomes a rare sanctuary. Carl Jung believed silence holds a transformative power. In silence, the masks of society fall away. People no longer need polished words or roles to play. They are free to show up as they truly are. Standing next to someone who has made peace with their own darkness, you feel permission to be yourself too, unjudged, unhidden. Picture a crowded gathering. Some talk endlessly to grab attention. Some boast of achievements. Some try to shine by force. Yet slowly, eyes drift toward the one who speaks little, but radiates an unusual calm. Without saying a word, they become the quiet center of the room. That is not magic. It is the energy of inner harmony. We often forget that presence can speak louder than 1,000 words. An elderly father simply sitting in his chair, eyes at peace, can calm an entire household. A friend may not give complex advice, but just sitting beside you in silence is enough to soothe your pain. That silence itself is proof that sometimes people don't need solutions right away. They need a safe presence. Silence has power because it allows what was hidden to rise. In quiet, old wounds can be seen, unanswered questions can surface, and the awakened soul, by their very presence, becomes a mirror, helping others realize they too can face their own darkness. This is why those who quietly withdraw from the noise hold such influence. They don't preach, they don't command, yet their presence reminds everyone there is another way, the way of wholeness, of inner peace. And here is the greatest paradox. Precisely because they do not try to lead anyone, they become the truest guides. Society often misunderstands this retreat. Some mock it, calling it weakness or avoidance. Others romanticize it as mysterious or eccentric. But few see that behind this quiet step back is a silent revolution. It does not unfold in the streets with banners or slogans, but in the soul, where a person dares to challenge the very way the world operates. By choosing silence and stepping aside, they refuse to play the endless game of competition, comparison, and performance. It is a bold declaration. I will no longer play by those rules. In a society that worships loud voices, flashy displays, and endless accumulation, the quiet soul is rewriting the definition of success. Success is no longer about recognition from others, but about harmony within. Jung once said that every true journey begins with stepping away from the crowd. It is not a rejection of humanity, but a retreat into stillness to reconnect with the deepest part of oneself. Such a person is no longer driven by the desire to stand out, but by the longing to be truly free. And the greatest freedom is not doing whatever you want, but being free from the compulsion to be seen. This silent revolution can unsettle others. When someone steps out of the usual games, they become a mirror, reflecting the futility of the races others still run. That reflection can anger people, forcing them to ask, what am I really living for? Yet at the same time, the quiet presence plants a seed of hope, showing there is another way to live, another way to exist. Withdrawal, then, is not disappearance. It is rebirth. Like winter that seems harsh, but is secretly preparing for spring, those who step into their own darkness are not lost. They are sowing the seeds of return, a return that is quiet yet enduring, no longer pulled by the crowd, but standing firm on the foundation of an awakened soul. And this is why withdrawal is revolutionary. It challenges our definitions of strength, success, and presence. Instead of noise, it chooses stillness. Instead of display, it chooses sincerity. And that choice, though silent, shakes the world more than any shout ever could. Disappearance, when seen through hurried eyes, is often labeled as weakness, as giving up. But in reality, it is a profound form of healing. When a person withdraws from the noise, from the pressure of having to constantly respond, they create a safe space to preserve their own energy. In that space, the heart is no longer attacked by expectations, the ego no longer agitated by comparisons, and the mind finally has a chance to breathe again. In the rush of modern life, we often forget that mental energy is like a vessel. If we keep pouring out without ever replenishing, it will inevitably run dry. Disappearance is not permanent closure, but an act of preservation. Just as a farmer lets the land rest after harvest, humans too need stillness to regenerate. It is the time to gather the scattered pieces of oneself, to mend the invisible cracks, and to nurture the balance long neglected. Jung emphasized that the unconscious is not only where darkness hides, but also where healing treasures lie. Yet those treasures only open when one is brave enough to sit with themselves. Disappearance gives people time to face repressed emotions, old wounds, instead of letting them continue to silently control the present. In silence, they realize they are not only their pain, nor just the expectations society has placed upon them. They are much more, a being capable of rebirth. And the strange thing is, the more they retreat to regenerate within, the stronger they become when they return. One who has learned to protect their energy will not be easily swept into the chaos of the outside world. They re-enter life as someone replenished, not seeking recognition, but giving from a state of fullness. This difference makes their presence feel safe wherever they go, because they live not in scarcity, but in wholeness. Thus, Disappearance is not a severing from the world, but a breath that sustains a healthy connection with it. They withdraw not to vanish forever, but so that when they return, they can love, listen, and live with others from a place of clarity and strength. It is not running away, but a courageous act to pause, to face, to recreate. When someone knows how to step back to heal, their return carries a different kind of energy, a quiet but powerful light. Without preaching, without grand slogans, their presence alone becomes a refuge for the unsteady. Others feel it not with reason, but with intuition. Near them, there is peace. In a society where everyone races after noise, the presence of one who has learned to keep their soul still is like an oasis in the desert. They do not rush to speak in every conversation, but when they do, their words land like an anchor, reminding others there is still space to breathe. That is the healing power, not through great actions, but through simplicity and sincerity. Jung called this the effect of individuation. When one accepts and reconciles both their light and shadow, they become whole. And wholeness spreads like a candle. Once it burns, it does not need to shout. Its light quietly ignites hundreds more. A person who is full within helps others sense their own capacity to heal. Many who return from this disappearance become pillars for family, friends, or colleagues. They do not try to fix others' lives, but simply show up with steadiness and compassion. Others look to them and see living proof. Suffering is not the end, but a doorway into strength. This strength is not flashy. It is not the power of control, nor external charm. It is an inner gravity, a magnetism that logic cannot explain, but everyone can feel. This is why, in gatherings, there are those who don't speak much, don't seek attention, yet leave the deepest impression. They carry an energy purified through darkness, reborn through stillness. And as they radiate this light, the circle of healing expands. Everyone they touch is invited to look within themselves, to be braver in facing their own wounds. This is how personal disappearance transforms into a silent revolution for the collective. One person, one relationship, one community at a time, infused with the energy of renewal. At the deepest point of this journey, we discover a paradox. The very darkness we once feared holds the seeds of light. Jung emphasized that one does not become enlightened by dreaming of light, but by daring to face their own darkness. That is why disappearance is never meaningless. It is the time to return inward, to let the masks fall, to stop living only as a mirror for others' expectations. In that moment, true freedom reveals itself. Freedom is not the absence of responsibility, nor the cutting off of all connections. It lies in the ability to be present in any relationship, situation, or challenge without losing one's authentic self. It is the freedom of one who has reconciled with their wounds and is no longer ruled by them. At this point, one's presence no longer attracts by fleeting appearance or status. It becomes something far more enduring, an invisible field that makes others feel safe, heard, and free to be themselves. At a crowded party, they are the quiet one everyone's eyes turn to. In a family, they are not the one who imposes, but the one everyone seeks when they need grounding. This is the peak of individuation, to become whole, not by escaping the darkness, nor by clinging to light, but by uniting both. And when they do, the soul radiates a strength no one can take away. The miracle is that once this rebirth happens, their presence is no longer only for themselves. It becomes a gift to the world. For true healing never stops at the individual. It spreads, inspires, and awakens courage in other hearts. Perhaps this is the silent revolution humanity needs. Not a shout in the streets, but each person daring to step into their own darkness, to rediscover light. And from that light, the world slowly changes. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily and profoundly. When we understand this, disappearance is no longer an ending, but a beginning. It is an invitation to return, not as an old version of ourselves, but as someone new, steady, whole, radiant and from within. And perhaps the most important lesson we learn is this: darkness is not the enemy, but the teacher. It reminds us that to truly be free, we must be brave enough to turn inward, to see what was forgotten, and to allow ourselves to heal. So if you find yourself in a season of silence, retreat, or feeling invisible to the world, remember, it is not meaningless. It may well be the preparation for your return, with a new strength, a fuller soul, and a light that cannot be extinguished. See this journey as a gift, even if it comes wrapped in darkness, because one day you'll become a source of inspiration for others, not because you are perfect, but because you dared to walk through the night and found yourself again. And if these words resonate with you, I invite you to stay with us. Subscribe and turn on notifications so that each day we can continue this journey into the soul together, where darkness and light are no longer two separate worlds, but two halves of the same truth. Thank you for taking the precious time to listen and journey with this video. In a world that is always loud and rushed, the fact that you chose to pause for a few minutes to reflect is truly something to be cherished. I hope today's sharing has touched a corner of your heart, bringing you peace, strength, and inspiration to continue your journey.